In this video, we were talking about Toontown Plusing. They are still adding details, thematic details to that land. We're also going to talk about Dark Universe over at Epic Universe. It's starting to take a little bit of shape. Looks pretty cool. We're also going to talk about an operational thing at Disneyland Resort that George and I were unaware of. Maybe you at home were. Very interesting, though, that we found out this weekend. We're going to talk about it up next on OG 55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG 55. I am joined today, once again, by Citrus George, the Italiano. George, if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me on. It's going to be a great show. And yeah, so you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me now on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yeah, and George, he's the Italiano. He's the Disney Al Pacino, basically, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's dive right in. Now, I wanted to bring this up, actually, before we get started. This is a friend of the channel, Jeff Gordon. I've known Jeff for years, fantastic guy. He does this pretty much every year, or he has been doing it for the last few years. He says here, today we start Disney Fans for Good 2023, a fundraiser for the Second Harvest Food Bank of OC. This food bank supports cast members and team members and hospitality workers around Orange County. Even with jobs coming back, inflation is bad and the need is high. Please share and or donate. So definitely check out Jeff. That's his Twitter. So definitely check him out on Twitter. And, if you're interested in donating, even if you can't donate, if you can't afford to donate, you can always just retweet and share the link and spread the word. But I thought this was a great cause. And before we get started, I wanted to sort of, kind of promote this because I think it's for a really good cause. What are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, I really do think so. I think, especially in today's times, there are people that you need a little more extra help. And,
Right.
this is a great way. And I know a lot of the time, during the season, with, Thanksgiving coming around and Christmas and the other holidays, that's usually the time when people do give, for hospitality and what have you. But I think this is something that needs to be brought to people's attention all year round. I think we just need to, share and give the love a little bit more. And I think this will help out a lot of people who would need it the most, especially now coming for the holidays.
Absolutely. So check out Jeff Gordon on Twitter. He's at Jeff Gordon, GORDONLA. And his timeline is full of the links and what have you. So if you're interested in donating, please do. If you can't, which is understandable, not everyone can afford it, but just spread the word at least. Get the word out that this is going on, because we love our cast members, we love our team members, hospitality workers. They bust their butts for us to make the magic happen, right? So let's go ahead and try to help them during the holiday season. So thanks again to Jeff for that. All right. So let's dive into our first topic at hand. This is from a friend of the channel, Just Ask Danny. Danny is the co-host of Speculation Sunday on Five Fires with Mondo. They do fantastic stuff. We love Danny. We love Mondo. They are amazing. But this is interesting. Now, this is funny, right? There were people out there that were sort of, kind of a little giddy, look at Disneyland, right? They got to fix their hills. And after all those people were talking shit about the Universal hills in Super Nintendo World, look at Disney. They got scrim up. So that means their hills must be messed up too. Well, those folks kind of jumped the gun a little bit, because that's not exactly why That's not exactly why there is a scrim. It's cool. Everyone makes mistakes. No worries. When you're wrong, you're wrong. But it says here over in Mickey's Toontown, it looks like they're also getting to installing the giant green beanstalk growing out of the El Capitan Theater. They had shown this in the concept art originally, and it finally completes the storyline of how you see it growing from the queue. So this is fantastic news. They're plussing this land. They're going through, and I know a lot of fans, they're kind of frustrated with, how Disney's kind of going into Toontown right now and having to fix things that just opened. And I agree with you on that, fandom. I agree with you. It should have never happened. This stuff should have been thought out before the land opened, with the fake grass, removing it, adding bricks, the fountain, all that stuff. I'm with you, but at least they're fixing it. Okay, so that's good, number one. And we're also getting some thematic elements added, like the beanstalk. So I think that overall, a lot of good things happening in Toontown. Yes, we have short-term pain right now, dealing with all the construction again, but long-term gain for sure. This land will be better off for it. What do you think, George?
Yeah, I think this is great. I think it's better late than never, so to speak. And I know there'll probably be people out there will saying, well, the Beanstalk should have been done when Toontown reopened or when Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened or what have you. But I mean, they may have their reasons why it delayed, and they're doing it in phases. It could be labor cost, it could be getting the third party construction workers or what have you. We don't know the internal issues that Disney goes on with day to day. It's so easy for us as a community to say, well, they should just do this, well, they should just do that. Well, sometimes it's not as easy as it is just to click your finger, or in Disney's case, wave your magic wand and say bibbity bobbity boo.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into it.
Well, and even look, and to be fair, like even we talked the other day about Universal, the Cabana Bay neon sign was gone. They removed the neon sign and they put it with like a cardboard or wooden one in the meantime. And Universal Orlando, their Twitter account said it's coming back. Well, look, I mean, with stuff like that, maybe neon takes a long time, right? But as fans, we're not really aware of that, or whatever. So to be fair, it happens. And that's why as fans, we sort of have to acknowledge that sometimes the behind the scenes stuff, the logistics of it might be a little more complicated than, like you said, George, waving your magic wand and just having it happen,
Absolutely. But as far as getting the beanstalk, I'm very excited for it. And I know it's just an extra piece of a prop to the building, but it gives it an extra level of storytelling. The way that the beanstalk is going to grow out of the building, and just knowing exactly where the beanstalk is placed inside the building, which obviously they'll have it angled to the effect of where it is placed in the building, and you look on it from the outside exterior, it's like, okay, that's where it is.
Yeah.
And you kind of see it growing, and then it kind of connects into the backdrop of the mountains, where it just keeps on going, where it eventually goes up into the clouds, where you would go to Willie the Giant's castle from Mickey and the Beanstalk, which I thought was great. And it kind of pays homage to Mickey and the Beanstalk, because a lot of times people don't really think of that short as part of Fun and Fancy Free. So it's nice that Disney is recognizing it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it feels like, Disney is sort of doing these things. Hey, for better or worse, you know what I'm saying? It feels like Disney is doing a lot of these lands or even like these rethemes in like long stretched out phases, right? Like piece by piece, through an extended amount of time. We're seeing a very similar thing playing out over in San Francisco, where we're still seeing thematic elements being added, months after the official opening of that land. And we still have that big neon San Francisco port sign that is coming. We heard that from Scott Gustin. So they're still adding stuff to that land. It's not officially completely done. And they're doing that here with the Beanstalk, adding it almost a year later. So this is a thing Disney does. And I know fans don't like that. Fans want it to be all done. And I get it. I mean, everyone wants instantaneous, right? Everyone wants it done right now, but at the end of the day, I think that, these elements, these things are going to be around for years to come anyway. So if it opens with the land, opens 3 months after the land, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as we get it. So I think this is a great addition to Toontown. But any final thoughts, George, before we move on to our next topic?
No, I think that's it. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's completed, and I think it'll give Toontown a little extra more than what it already is, because Toontown is already a beautiful immersive land, and I love the update that they did to it. It needed a lot of TLC, and for a long time, you and I included in this, we thought Toontown was on the chopping block. But
Yeah.
then when they made this announcement, it's like it's not going anywhere, and I think Disney made the right call. I think Toontown needs to stay because it's a pinnacle part of the company with how it all started with Walt Disney and his animation and Mickey Mouse and and
Yeah.
so I think Disney made the right call.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They did make the right call, and it's secured its place at Disneyland for decades to come with Runaway Railway. My only critique with Toontown right now is we need some sort of Oswald representation in this
Yes.
land.
Yes.
I mean, if they could fit a dark ride, a cute little Oswald black and white dark ride, that would be perfect. But just we need it.
You called it, OG. I think Oswald and the ink and paint uh
Club,
like bar club lounge type of
right?
thing. I think that would complete Toontown full circle.
Yeah, yeah, and I know, and that's a controversial take, to add the Ink and Paint Club to Toontown. You and I are all in on that, right?
Yeah.
We actually just did a great show. I don't know when the podcast comes out, but the fellows from Mouse Stational, they do a podcast on Spotify and Apple. When it gets released, I'll actually promote it so everyone at home can check it out. But Noah and John over there, phenomenal guys. We had a great conversation. But we were talking about that last night with them about how they really need to add an Ink and Paint Club here and serve like specialty drinks themed to like various tunes and what have you. I think that would be a huge hit with the locals. I think people would love that. It is controversial because this land is kind of marketed towards kids, but I don't know. I mean, Disney does have alcohol in other areas of the park, so I don't think it'd be too much of an issue.
And that'd be some killer dough they'd be making, I think, off of that.
Well, yeah. Well, are you saying money, George? Is that what you're
I
saying?
think so, yeah.
Give me the drop, some money, dropping on my money.
Brand new money, brand new hundreds, got a bunch of zeros like a bag of new funyuns.
There we go. Making that money. Making that money. Thank you, Lalisa. Thank you, Little Wayne. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Now, this is interesting. We're going to Epic Universe. Epic Universe. Okay, so this is courtesy of BioReconstruct. If you guys are not following BioReconstruct on Twitter,
You
I don't
need
know.
to. You
Yes.
need to.
Phenomenal stuff. He's from what I understand, he's a pilot, I believe, and he gets all these aerial shots of all these parks. It's just amazing stuff. But look, we are very critical of Universal here. We do think the fandom gives Universal a pass. The teacher's pet kind of thing going on right now with Universal is annoying. But hey, when they do something right, we're gonna scream at the top of our lungs from the rooftops about how great it is. And this is one of those times. This is the portal. How you enter Dark Universe, the Universal Classic Monsters Land at Epic Universe. And I gotta tell you, George, this rock work with the tree roots and everything looks a freaking plus. What do you think?
This looks great. I mean, we could only just see the rock work for the entranceway where you surpass through the tunnel, and we can kind of see beyond where guests would go once they surpass that tunnel. We could see some of the show buildings kind of already taking form with some scaffolding. But so far, this looks great. This is giving me high hopes that if Universal stays on this track with the architectural theming. I think that this could actually be very aesthetically pleasing. Now, I can't really say, this is with the attractions and the ride and everything until unfortunately I experience it for myself.
Right.
But as far as if Universal sticks to this kind of layout, I think that this could be one of the more popular, eye pleasing locations of the park. Because for me personally, and I had brought this up to you throughout our conversations when we were talking about this topic, and this is the entranceway that I wish Disney did for Galaxy's Edge for Walt Disney World, not Disneyland. They did Disneyland correct, the way that they infused it perfectly with the rivers of America and Frontierland and what have you. Walt Disney World, we just kind of got uh, a tunnel. Basically,
Yeah.
it kind of looked like a regular tunnel from Who Framed Roger Rabbit that you go through before you enter into Toontown. And then on the opposite side, it's you just have Toy Story Land, and then you just segue into Galaxy's Edge without no transitional theming into the land. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that Walt Disney World got the short end of the stick for that, but just speaking with Epic Universe and the classic Universal monsters, this looks phenomenal. If this is what it looks like in a photo, I can't wait to actually see what this looks like in person.
Yeah, there are a couple things happening here, which I love. Number one, the very top of it, you'll see like a steel structure with the roots kind of wrapping around it. Alicia Stella, who's a phenomenal Universal content creator, she was saying on Twitter that there's going to be some electrical effects in that little spire on the very top. That is going to look pretty sick. Okay, mixed in with the roots and the rock work, I think that'd be really cool. But really, overall, with this park, I like the concept that they're going with the portals. So each land, when you walk through the portal, now this is the portal for monsters, but each land will have it. Harry Potter will have a portal just like this. Nintendo will have a portal. How to Train Your Dragon, they all will. I think that really lends itself for the sort of the grand reveal when you enter these lands. You know, I think it's gonna be really, really cool. It's kind of like Cars Land, right? How you go through the rock work and then it opens up to you. It makes a huge impact. And I think walking into each one of these lands with that portal kind of effect, I think is a really smart move on Universal's part. So we'll see. This looks really, really good. Really, really good. Now the ride, from what I understand, is going to be like a Kuka arm thing, similar to like Forbidden Journey. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see if I go on it. I don't know, because I'm not really into those vehicles. They're pretty claustrophobic, but I might have to at least give it a shot, maybe once. You know.
Right. And yeah, I hope that it does do it justice. I have my concerns. I'm not saying negativity, you know, in a negative way.
And there's nothing
but,
wrong with that, you know. To be honest, you know?
But yeah, it's you know, because you're going to have another attraction. You know, it kind of you already have that for Forbidden Journey,
Right.
which put that attraction on the map. So to do another one with the exact same ride system, I would have leaned a little more towards maybe like a different ride vehicle or a ride system. That's just me. I hope that it's not too heavily within screens. I know that they had a kind of downgrade because of you know, the budget for the
Right.
ride itself. So I don't mind the screens, but as long as we get a few audio animatronics, I'd be happy with it. And then just my personal opinion, I would love to see down the road in the future that if they were to do something like maybe with like a water ride for the Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Oh, that'd be sick, dude. That's a great idea, actually. That's a really good idea. You know, yeah, I don't know with the Kuka arm ride. I honestly am not, admittedly, not too knowledgeable about the details of that. That's something that like either Alicia Stella or our friend Theme Park Wizard would probably have to answer for us. I know it's a Kuka arm similar to Forbidden Journey, but I don't know if it's going to be. There might be some elements to that might be a little different in this version. So I'm not really sure, but you know, we'll see. You know, I'm very, very curious. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty quality. Now, here's the thing too. We also have to understand that this is just one section, right? And you have to take in the entire park in its totality to really get a good picture. So what I mean by that is like, if you were to take DCA 1.0 and you were to get a picture of a finished Grizzly Peak, you could go like, wow, that rock work is really, really awesome. Look how immersive and cool that looks, right? But it doesn't translate to the opinion of the whole park, because there were other elements of DCA 1.0 that were really bare bones and cheap looking, like the pier. Mm-hmm. So that all comes into play and factors into your overall opinion. With this looks fantastic, beautiful, love it, A+. But then we recently did a video with the Starfall, I think it's Starfall Racers. Yep. And it's a steel coaster over some grass. That I'm telling you know, I'm being honest. I think Universal can do better than that. I know it's a roller coaster, but look, even Velocicoaster has some theming to it, you know? So I think there's elements of this park. We have heard there have been budget cuts to this park. We've heard from multiple sources that we know, that we trust. Mice Chat was saying that. So it'll be very interesting to see, you know, how this whole thing pans out when it's all said and done. The park opens, what the attractions are like. That's a huge element to this too. But look, You know, there's no denying this is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I love what they did with this portal. So we'll see. This might be a huge hit for them. This land. I mean, there's a lot of potential here, to say the least. You know.
Absolutely. And kind of going back a little bit on the Starfall Racers, what I would have done was kind of do like an indoor coaster, sort of like how Disney did with Space Mountain. But maybe not do it as dark. Maybe have it a little bit more bright, a little more colorful, like with like the cosmics, if you will, sort of kind of like how Mario does, like in the space section of the video game, where you have like the bright shiny shooting stars and what have you, and like it's just engulfed around you, like no matter where you look, it could, like the whole dome could be like one big giant LED screen.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
while you're like riding and racing in this coaster. And then the outside of that dome could kind of represent and be designed like the hotel and the central part of the land. That's what I would do. But I do agree with you, OG, as far as with the classic Universal monsters, that looks phenomenal. And I do hope that when, you know, this land opens along with Epic Universe, of course, you know, a lot of people are going to go, you know, it's going to be used. There's going to be a lot of wear and tear, which we also did a previous video recently of some upkeep with the Universal attractions, with like in Seuss Landing with the Cat in the Hat attraction with the zip tie
Oh, yeah, I got that right
situation.
here. I do have that actually. Hold on one sec. The zip tie situation.
Yeah, so like hopefully, you know, I don't know Universal's situation as to why they have that, why they're utilizing that. Hopefully that's temporary, but I actually, because I think we were the only ones that had covered this. I didn't hear it from any other YouTube channels or what have you. Actually, me personally, I would actually like to hear it from the fellas over at That Park Place. I would love to get their opinions and their thoughts on it. Maybe they know a little bit more as to why those Ziploc ties are there. But
Yeah,
I think they would come out with a great video. I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, no, they do good work with this stuff, and they cover a lot of this stuff too, like we do. I would like to see it from them. I like to see it from anybody really in our community, because I think the more you bring this stuff to the attention to the masses, and you put pressure on these companies like Universal, you put pressure on these companies like Disney, it's good. It's good for the product because they fix it. From what I'm understanding, okay, this Seuss ride, this dark ride, the Cat in the Hat, has been having problems for a very long time. And the problem is that a lot of fans don't hold Universal accountable. I've been beating this drum for a long time, but it's true. So they feel they can get away with it. You know, they feel like, hey, we can zip tie this thing and no one's going to give us shit. They're too focused on Disney. You know, you can't let Universal get away with that. And this is the other thing too. I don't really know like what kind of deal Universal has with like the Dr. Seuss estate or whatever. But it must be kind of a loose contract or something with like the maintenance, because I feel like with this land, it's kind of struggling quite a bit with the maintenance side of things, where other lands are more top, like they're on top of it, like Harry Potter, right? Which J.K. Rowling's not going to put up with a filthy park or land, you know, with her property on it. So I think there's something there with this that they just don't feel they have to maintain it. I mean, even Superhero Island, I mean, they're refreshing that really often, and it looks good. So what's the deal with the Seuss thing? Unless it's on its way out, maybe.
Well, I was just gonna bring that up to you. I mean, I know this is gonna sound like a horrible statement, but I mean, Dr. Seuss is a beloved author, a great man. All the material that he made with his children's stories throughout the years is phenomenal, and they still continue to grow. And trend like through his books. As far as being in a theme park, is it as relevant as it was back in 1999? And I know it's for the younger kids, you know, you have to have a section, but as far as the Dr. Seuss theme of that land, could it potentially, as you had just questioned, could there be something else on the horizon for that?
100%. And a lot of fans, when we made that video about the Starfall Racers, what can you theme it to? How do you theme that? What do you do? Well, George, you have a great idea. You enclose the thing. Well, that's obviously step number one. You got to enclose it, or at least parts of it. Have more enclosed areas of that attraction. But this picture right here is actually from Tokyo Disney Sea. Of course, Japan. Japan does everything great, you know?
Of course.
Yeah, but this is a cool room, like kind of themed to the planets and the constellations. Wouldn't it be cool if this Starfall Racers, I'm kind of going into a little blue sky here, but wouldn't it be cool if they enclose that building or parts of the building even, and instead of it going over grass, you rode through a show building that looked like this?
Yeah, this could be like the finale of the ride. Like that would be phenomenal.
It's gorgeous, and it has the same theme essentially. From what I understand, this whole little area is themed to like the constellations, the sun, the moon, all that stuff, right? Why not? So there's potential. Fans, you got to just use your imagination a little bit. They could do something really, really cool there, you know. And instead, they decided to have a steel coaster go over some grass. It's just not okay. Look, we saw what they can do in this park with Dark Universe. That portal for Dark Universe looks incredible.
And I think what throws a lot of it off too is I don't want to call it the overall theme because there's really not too much theme to go by, but just titling it Starfall, which has to do with the theme of, you know, space, and as you mentioned, the sun, the moon, the constellations. So when you just have just a plain old roller coaster, yeah, it'll probably have some effects here and there, but it kind of kills the aspect of what you're really trying to portray with that coaster. And yeah, like that example, if they were to enclose the coaster or have certain sections enclosed, and that would be what we would see in there, that would be phenomenal.
Oh, dude, it'd be freaking awesome. You know, and then you have a space ride, and what you do is at the very end, when you pull in, you play this. Fly me to the moon. Little Frank Sinatra, right? I mean, hey, you're Italian, George, so am I, right?
Italian, absolutely. We gotta add a little Italian flair.
Fly me to the moon.
Yeah, you know, I have a little
that would
Frank
be perfect.
In there,
that would be perfect. But and honestly, I think that would actually be kind of dope. I mean, because Frank Sinatra, you know, big in Hollywood, you know, it's all about like the music and the movies and what have you. It's like tie it in there a little bit, have some fun, loosen that belt a little bit, Universal.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Universal can get away with stuff like that more than Disney. They can, speaking of Park Place, I think it was Jonas who actually said, and I think he's right, Universal can kind of get away with more than Disney. There's a little bit more of like that tradition with Disney and what they can or can't do. You know, with Universal, they have a little more leeway, or a lot of more leeway. You know, so you could do something like that, like have like a ride based on like the stars and the sun and the moon, and have some Frank Sinatra in there. I think that'd be really fun and really kind of funky. You know, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. But maybe you couldn't get away with that at Disney. You know, fans are a little more traditional with what they expect at Disney, but I think at park like Universal, you could probably get away with that. It'd be pretty fun, you know?
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
It'd be really, really fun. So our last and final topic. So I was at Disneyland Resort a few days ago, and I'm not going to say who we spoke to, obviously. It's a cast member, though. It is a cast member. And this particular cast member was kind of talking about stuff, and they said something that was very interesting that I didn't know. Now, audience at home, if you are aware of this or you were aware of this, comment down below. But it was new information to me. Apparently, when rides go down at the Disneyland Resort, I don't know if this is the case in Walt Disney World, but at Disneyland Resort, when a ride has downtime, there is a department or a group of people that will assess what happened with that downtime. And they actually fine or have a fee sent to whoever is the responsible party for that downtime. And
which is basically a penalty.
A penalty, right. And that's interesting, right? I didn't think that would be the case. And the interesting thing here is that it's based on, this cast member was saying, it's kind of based on the fact that this idea that when you have downtime, you're losing revenue, whether it be Genie Plus revenue, you know, Lightning Lane, whether it's merchandise sales, food sales, whatever that ride downtime kind of affects, whether it's directly or even indirectly, that's why they have these penalties. And I found that very, very interesting. I didn't think that they would do that. Now, I don't know how it works, the details about how do you fine a division or a department like that. You know, it's all the same company. It's kind of weird. I'm sure there's a way they do it, and that's fine. But just the idea that even happens, I had no idea that was the case. I found that super fascinating. What are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, gobsmacked. The fact that
Gobsmacked. Oh,
I was gobsmacked.
that's great. That's great.
But, that like because when you started saying that, I was running the numbers in my, well, I don't know the specific numbers of how much it costs, but I mean nowadays, you have to run numbers through everything now, right? But that for every time that Radiator Springs Racers goes down, or if the Incredicoaster goes down, if Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway goes down, especially Rise of the Resistance, I mean, I'm curious to know what penalty fee for each of those rides it costs Disney. And I would love to kind of sit down and see that transition, like what department handles the paperwork for that, and then what department does it get sent off to?
Right.
What is the amount? Does it go by depending on the attraction? Like if it's a bigger attraction that's more complex, like Rise of the Resistance or Radiator Springs Racers, is it a higher penalty fee?
Right.
Opposite if it was just something like Silly Symphony Swings or Dumbo, or is it one penalty fee no matter what the attraction is?
That's interesting, yeah, because certain attractions are going to affect the area more than others.
Yeah.
Rise of the Resistance would have a huge impact on that land, because if you remember, like Galaxy's Edge was like pretty much a ghost town prior to the opening of Rise of the Resistance. Once Rise of the Resistance opened, then you started to see a lot of people in that land. Look, when that ride breaks down, if that ride's down for 5-6 hours, it's going to impact how many people are in that area. And if you don't have a lot of people in that area, what happens? Well, they're not buying the merch. They're not buying the lightsabers. They're not buying the blue milk. They're not buying, they're not buying anything. They're not in that area, shopping. So you're losing your Genie Plus money and all that stuff. So, we now compare that to a ride, like you said, like the Silly Symphony Swings. How much of an impact is that going to have in comparison? Probably not as much. So are the penalties going to be the same? So I thought it was very fascinating. Now I actually do commend Disney on that policy, though. I think it's a great idea because it incentivizes these attraction operators, right? These groups it incentivizes them to be on their game, and I'm sure the team leads or whoever's in charge of managing that, I'm sure they're on top of that. And so I think it's a good, I was telling George on the phone, I think it's a great idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it definitely incentivizes smoother operations. I will say this too. We talk a lot in the fan community about Disney operations, and believe me, there are some issues with Disney operations. I'm not, a lot of people are complaining about the lightning lane lines and all that stuff, and I'm not dismissing any of that. There's a lot of issues here, right? Now that there's like a monetized, like skip the line kind of service. I will have to say though, as much as I loved Knott's Berry Farm, and I ended up getting a season pass. Okay. I really love that park. I will say, with Disney and their flaws, I think the operations at Knott's were a little worse, to be honest with you. We waited forever for everything. I mean, and it didn't matter if the line was long or not. It just, everywhere took forever. Like, it was like we're waiting for the log ride. It could be just 10 people in front of us. We wait, like, it felt like forever. You're waiting for food. You're waiting for this or that. Every line it seemed like it crawled. The operations were just not as smooth. And again, I'm not saying Disney's is perfect. Believe me, it's not. But I do feel like it is still better than what Knott's had. Now, when you went, you've gone to Knott's twice, right?
Correct.
Did you notice that when you were there, or is it just for me the past couple times?
No, there were times where there was operational issues that I have noticed. Not necessarily particularly with me or with the group that I was with, but I have seen. Just overall, like where you could kind of like look at the wait times and look at the line perspective, like of the guest ratio of where they're at and what have you. And it kind of, you look at the lines and it's like kind of a standstill when it's like, well, how could it be a standstill when you're actually seeing the ride vehicles go by with people and then you don't see the line moving? Like,
it doesn't move. Yeah. And that's the thing that's one thing Knott's, I think you need to step. I don't know if maybe they're short staffed, they got to step that up a little bit. I love you, Knott's. I do. I love you. And it's constructive criticism, but that was an issue at Knott's,
I think for Knott's, the best term that I could describe them is a diamond in a rough. That to me is like, it's like the little park that could, where it's like it doesn't get enough love that it should. But
Right.
yeah, there are some, especially with operational tendencies that need to be taken forth with knots. Now, I have a couple more questions for you as far as the
Sure.
with the penalty fees with it. Now, I don't know if this particular cast member mentioned this to you or what you think of it. Now, do they get extra fees depending on the length of time a ride is down, or does
Yeah.
that not matter?
No, I believe this person did say that's factored into the equation. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like the length of time, the reason it's down, all that stuff is factored in.
Okay.
So yeah, and this person that was their job to kind of assess that and analyze that. So I thought that was very
Interesting.
interesting.
And then my other question was, do they kind of give like a waiver, so to speak, like in the very beginning, like when a new ride opens? Like how
Oh,
sometimes like with brand new rides, you kind of have to work out the bugs and the kinks, and especially for opening day, everybody and their grandmother is going to that ride. So do they kind of give them a little bit of a gap, like a certain period of time where it's like, okay, you have from this time to this time, you'll get your saving grace, but then after that time is ended, if something goes wrong,
right.
you get that fee, or does it just happen right out of the gate?
This person didn't. We didn't get into that much detail. I mean, we
Okay.
were probably only talking for maybe 10 minutes, but I would imagine. I mean, logic would tell you that like there's going to be a grace period for a new thing. So I would imagine. Like there's probably a set time. Maybe they give the ride operators like say 3 months.
Okay.
Maybe like a probationary 3 months to kind of get it all in order. I would think. I mean, I think that would be fair. I mean, you have a new attraction, you can't hold them accountable
Right.
for that.
I mean, just the fact that we're having this conversation, I would have never guessed that. Like, but it makes
Yeah.
sense. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes total sense. So, yeah, fascinating stuff. So news to us, but at home, if you've heard that before, comment down below. So yeah, fun conversation today, George. And I do want to say too, at the beginning when I was talking about, hey, fans were wrong about the Toontown Hills. I'm joking. Okay. Let's not get all super upset. We've all been wrong before. I've been wrong many times. Okay. But we're just playing around. So I don't
Yes.
want people to take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But George, if you could please let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You could find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can now also find me on Instagram as the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, here we go, dude.
Fly me to the moon.
Here we go. We got the Disney Frank Sinatra over here, George.
There we go.
But thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Thank you so much. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.